You're tuned into Recovery TV, the voice of hope, with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Discussions and information on addiction and mental health issues. Here's your host, John J. Tassoni Jr., with today's guest.
Welcome to another edition of Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. Narcan, please get it. You can get it at the pharmacies. You can get it from URI. Carry it. Keep it with you at all times if you can. Keep it in your car, but at night you need to take it out of your car because the weather does affect it, and it saves lives. We're down 7% of overdose deaths in Rhode Island. We need to get that up. So today my guests are Rosie and Janelle. They're both from Horizon Healthcare Partners, and we're going to talk about a couple of different issues today. So ladies, welcome, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
The $99 question is 988. Let's talk about 988 because it's in the General Assembly right now, and we need funding for 988.
Correct, we do. So, first of all, 988 is a free number that's available 24/7, 365 to everyone, not just in Rhode Island, but nationwide. All ages, all genders, whatever you identify as, it's there for you if you need someone to talk to. And it's free, anonymous, so we can't tell where you're calling from when you call. It's not like 911 that as soon as you call 911 they can see your location. With 988, it's completely 100% anonymous.
You know, 988, I don't think people realize how important 988 is. You know, we have the 911, we have 211, but 988 is a totally different animal. It's people who have mental health issues and substance use issues.
Correct.
Where we can get them help ASAP.
Yes.
And that does save lives, like the Narcan saves lives. But we're at a point, a crossroads right now in Rhode Island and throughout the country with overdoses and mental health issues. And I give kudos, and I normally don't do this, but I give kudos to the legislature in Washington for getting the information correct and putting this out to the cities and towns and states throughout the United States. Because after COVID, as we all know, the mental health issues skyrocketed, substance use skyrocketed, all because of containing of people's lives, all in 1, 2, or 3 rooms in a house. No one could leave. People started to get nervous. People started to have anxiety. People started to think crazy things. We're not out of the woods yet, by any means. So 988 is a great resource, and will continue to be a resource if, in fact, we can get the funding we need.
Correct.
To move it in the right direction. So what are the plans for HHP and your partners to get the completed funding for this?
So we've been going up to the state capitol to advocate, provide testimonies, provide stories, lived experiences of people within the community that heavily rely on 988. You know, you call 988 for service, and if funding were to be disrupted, essentially the care would be disrupted to people living in the state of Rhode Island, and you don't want that. You wouldn't do that to physical ailments. Why do that to mental illness?
Right.
And so you wouldn't call 911 and hope that someone in another state would understand what you're going through. And if there's no funding for 988 here in the state of Rhode Island, it will result in 988 calls being answered in another state where they don't understand how unique Rhode Island is. I mean, you have places like Richmond that are a little bit more isolated, and then you have places like Warwick that are more populated. And so 2 different cities in the same state with different needs, different limitations, different issues that only someone from Rhode Island would understand. And that's why it's essential that we have a call center in Rhode Island for people in Rhode Island to kind of help continue that support. Because if you call 988 and you're transferred out of state, they're not going to understand those unique issues that are, you know, that people that live here would understand. Right. And if you were to have a heart attack here in Rhode Island and you call 911, it gets handled within state.
Right.
Why not do the same for 988?
Right. And I must tell the people, I know I'm probably going to embarrass you a little bit.
It's okay.
But you were in the military for how many years?
22 and a half years.
22 and a half years. And
Correct.
so thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Someone who's been in the military for that long must have seen a lot of issues
Correct.
with mental health and substance use.
Yes.
How did you get involved? How did you get involved when you came out of the service? Or were you doing this kind of work in the service?
So
Or when you came out of the service, you said, well, a light went on, let me see what I could do to help people.
it's a little bit of everything that you kind of asked. There's a lot of things that go into this response. So when I was in the military, I was a hospital corpsman initially when I joined the military. So I deployed with the Marines, twice to Iraq, once to Afghanistan. And so mental health was definitely something that I dealt with when seeing Marines as patients, even fellow corpsmen and some of the doctors and nurses. My second deployment to Iraq, there was a nurse who wasn't handling things very well, and so she started seeing mental health out there. And then I saw a doctor, and I just started seeing everyone around me experiencing mental health issues, and I was like, wow, this is a big thing, so people do need help. But working in the medical field, we don't always take care of ourselves. We're so worried about
Right.
taking care of everybody else. So it was nice to see people actually taking care of themselves, and that kind of motivated me to kind of take care of myself as well. And so moving up in my career, I went from being enlisted to officer, and although I was medically retired, I learned more about taking care of people, and I really love doing that. And so when I retired from the military, my husband received orders here to Rhode Island, and we moved over here, and I really wanted to do something where I could give back to the community and be happy to where it doesn't feel like it's my job. Like I don't know, but I love this.
You know, it really strikes me that many years in the military, you come to Rhode Island because your husband has orders to come here. And now you're sitting in front of me telling me about all the stuff, the mental health and substance use that you had to deal with in the military. I know a little bit about that because my son-in-law is in the military. And I've done 2 presentations, and I got another one coming up with the military pertaining to the problems that they're having on the bases. And if we don't attack this, and I use that, maybe that's not a good word to use, but if we don't help these folks, our service people who day to day protect this nation, the worse it's going to get.
Correct.
You know, whether it's a male or a female. Stuff has to be done. Orders have to be complete. We have to give you everything that we can give you. You're just not a castaway once you leave the military.
Correct.
And I see that all the time because I see homeless military people in the corners. It breaks my heart. My father was in the military. He served in Alaska, but he didn't go overseas. But my point is that you give your life, your family, and your friends, and you go into the military, and when you come out, you make a phone call, you need help, and there's no one on the other end of the line. That's a sad situation. I want to talk more about that when we come back, because I think 988 will be a big deal with the military.
I agree.
We'll be right back after these messages.
And now, back to Recovery TV with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Recovery TV is made possible by our supporting sponsors and our title sponsor, AdCare. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome back to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. We're talking about 988 with the ladies, Janelle and Rosie. And we're talking about the new system that hopefully will get funded through the state budget and don't have to worry about when it's going to get cut, because it can't get cut.
Correct.
In my estimation.
It shouldn't get cut.
Shouldn't get cut.
Correct.
But let's talk a little bit more. I want to talk a little bit more about the military, and then I want to go into the funding aspect of 988 and what the initial issue is with the funding. So, the military.
Okay.
A lot of vets on the corner, a lot of vets looking for help. A lot of vets a little leery about going to the VA. How do we make it so there's not an issue with a soldier, male or female, that picks up the phone and says, I need help? Because when I drive by and I stop and I say to a guy who says he's a vet, how can I help you? Some of them say to me, I don't need any help. Then why are you standing out here? I just need money. Well, money goes along with help, and help goes along with money. You need to go to the VA, you need to have a checkup, you need to go to the doctor, you need housing is a very necessary thing right now, because we have a lot of problems with housing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 988 comes along, very easy access to vets, male and female, to pick up the phone and say to whoever's on the other end of the line, which is in Rhode Island, it's not over in Guam or any place else.
No.
You know, like when you call the insurance companies, you're talking to somebody east of Gorpia. You have a Rhode Islander that's picking up the phone,
Correct.
and a Rhode Islander that's going to help you.
Correct.
And I think that's some of the misnomer that's out there, that 988 is just another faction of somebody trying to get rich, having a call center in Guam. That's not it.
No, not at all.
They're in East Providence.
That is correct.
They're in East Providence. They're your peers. They're people who pay taxes, live here in Rhode Island, that want to help you get the treatment that you need.
Exactly.
Correct?
That is exactly who they are. And they are hardworking. They genuinely care. Like, people in those positions at the call center 100% wholeheartedly care about helping people. I've sat at the call center and listened to some of the calls that come in, and they stay on for as long as it takes for the person to get back to feeling okay and being able to hang up and, you know, have a plan, a safe plan.
You know, it's heartbreaking when you sit there, and I've, not at 988, but at 911, I've sat there and listened to the calls that come in. And I'm sure that the 988 line's a little bit more sophisticated as far as where do we turn with these people? Where do we send them? And there's a lot of people in Rhode Island that have a lot of problems with substance use and mental health. And until the leadership in the state figures that out, this 988 is a no-brainer. We have millions and millions and millions of dollars left on the table from our cell phone bills that go to 911, and not every penny is spent. So why wouldn't it make sense to whatever's left over at 911, if you've got all this money coming in, instead of going into the black hole, use this 988 for funding, utilize it for mental health and substance use, because it's not going away.
Correct.
It's not going away. I don't know what people don't get. You know, when you have this excess money, instead of dumping it in the black hole, you need to help people.
I agree.
You need to help people. People need help. You know, I sit on the council in Smithfield, and I see what's happening to the Human Services Department. And Smithfield's a well-oiled machine, and it's very wealthy out in Smithfield. But there's a lot of people who are one paycheck away from being homeless.
Right.
And there's people, we put up these boxes that we put food in so people can go and get free food. You can't believe how many times we have to restock that. And it's not because people are stealing it. It's because people need it.
Right.
And they need 988. The funding needs to follow 988. This misnomer that's out there, these cockamamie stories that people are telling, need to stop. People are hurting.
They are.
People are hurting more now than ever. I see it when I go and talk to kids at the school. I see it when kids come up to me and said, "Do you have $1, sir, so I can get hot lunch?" What? We never had that when I went to school. I mean, even though it was a long time ago, but you know what I'm saying? It's a different world out there.
It is.
A lot of single parents. A lot of kids that don't have dads. A lot of grandparents now that are bringing up their grandkids because either the parents have overdosed, have left the state, or incarcerated. And how do you get a 70-year-old grandmother or grandfather taking care of a 5-year-old kid? It's hard.
It is.
It's hard. So, I mean, the legislature's got to wake up and say, this is a very important issue. Even if they said to us, we'll fund it for 1 year. Do a pilot program, see how it works. See how much money it takes to run that operation. That would make sense. That would make sense. Common sense is going out the window. You know? I mean, I'm sure you as a soldier, a retired soldier coming out of the military with 23 years, you could never believe the things that are happening now.
I really don't. It's hard.
You know, you're a mom, you got 3 kids, your husband's still in the military. It's like, come on, folks. What is wrong? Common sense out the window.
I agree.
Take the money out of the 911 money, whatever's left. Give it to 988. It's not hard. It's not hard.
We're not even asking for all of it. We're just asking
For a portion of it.
enough just to keep it running. Not more.
Did you bring figures with you?
Well, no, but I know based on every time I go to the state capitol and provide testimony, Amy, our CFO, she provides the numbers and she talks about it costs approximately $5 million to run 988 call center.
How much is a life worth? We're going to take a break. You're watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. We'll be right back after these messages.
And now, back to Recovery TV with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Recovery TV is made possible by our supporting sponsors and our title sponsor, AdCare. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome back to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni, with Rosie and Janelle here with me today. We've been talking about 988 and the funding opportunities. So I'm going to ask you people to do is pick up the phone, find out where your legislator is, get their number, he or she, and give them a call and tell them they need to fund 988, because you'll never know when you may need 988. It's happened to every family. When I started in this business, it was 1 in 5 families. Now we're 1-on-1. It's affecting every family in Rhode Island. Remember that. Every family in Rhode Island is either got mental health issues or substance use issues. So ladies, again, thank you for coming on today. I know you wanted to put a little bit out there on your website, talk about your website.
Correct. So on our website, we actually have it to where constituents, people from the community can go online and write to their representatives, and all they have to do is enter their address, and then what'll happen?
Pops right up.
Exactly.
It's like hitting the lottery.
Exactly. And there's already a pre-typed message that's drafted for them, but there's also space if they want to share their personal story as to why 988 matters to them. And just over the weekend, I heard over 10 stories. You know, I heard about 4 from veterans at a veteran resource fair up in East Providence, and then I heard about 6 at a Pride event down in North Kingstown yesterday. And just seeing the impact that 988 has on people in the community tells me that
it's needed.
Definitely needed, and no disruption should happen. And that people need to get out there, voice why it needs to continue to get funded.
The website is right up on the TV now, so they will be able to see it. I want to thank both of you for coming on today.
Thank you.
And I know you're going to be on with me next week, so the people are watching, they're going to say, oh, those poor people, they don't change their clothes.
We work for nonprofits.
We're going to talk about another sector of 988 and another organization that we're going to put together. So, folks, thank you for joining us this week on Recovery TV. Again, if you see something, say something. Have a great week.